the protein and fiber-packed Magic Pancakes you didn't even know you were missing, straight out of my brand new cookbook, Eat Your Heart Out. I'm gonna show you a couple recipes from the book over the coming weeks just to tantalize and tempt you into seeing the world of delicious, nourishing, healthy food that you're never even gonna remember is healthy. I wrote Eat Your Heart Out because I was personally so sick and tired of being made to feel like when I wanted to eat healthily and eat clean, I had to sacrifice flavor. I had to sacrifice enjoying the meal and having it feel really celebratory the way the rest of my food does. And Eat Your Heart Out is 150 recipes, free from gluten, free from refined sugar, and totally full of flavor. You guys know how I like to eat. You know I don't put things in my mouth that aren't delicious. So these recipes are definitely fit to make for a glorious meal that you're really gonna love and still help you reset healthy habits, reset your body, feel good and strong in your skin again. So anyway, Magic Pancakes, recipe number 1 from Eat Your Heart Out. Why Magic Pancakes? Because it still blows my mind that you can mash a banana, add it together with rolled oats and oat flour, some yogurt, an egg or 2 or 4, and come out with the most rich, delicious, perfect pancake that hits all those same satisfying, perfect breakfast carbohydrate notes, but does it in a way that is really glorious. The first thing you're gonna do is mash a banana, a nice ripe one. This is perfect, actually, a little even darker brown. This is also wonderful. But the more ripe your banana is, the more natural sweetness it will bring. Grab a bowl. You can definitely just mash it in a big bowl before you start adding your other ingredients. But because mine are all lovely and measured out already, I'm not gonna bother with that. Peel your banana, stick it in a bowl, and mash it up. You can get your kids to do this for you. Beautiful. A lovely smooth puree of rich, sweet banana. I'm gonna add that in with some pulverized oats, otherwise called oat flour. You can buy it just like so, or you take rolled oats and stick them in a high-speed blender and whir them up until they are a fine, lovely powder like so. Both of these are gluten-free, and that is one of the tenets of Eat Your Heart Out. No gluten, no refined sugar, mainly because those are 2 things that come in foods that I have a hard time not overeating. And also because I don't have a gluten allergy or anything, but I find that a lot of us do end up feeling not great when you have a lot of gluten in your diet. And the beautiful part is with so many great natural products like these gluten-free rolled oats and oat flour, it's not like you have to sacrifice a whole lot to get gluten-free options. But again, deliciousness always comes first. And the really nice thing here is that the oat flour provides a great, very filling, delicious base for the pancakes. And then we've got our bananas going in, mashed ripe banana. I just give that a quick stir into the oat flour just to distribute it and start to bring the batter together. And then I will stir my rolled oats right in. Lots of great texture, something to chew on so you feel full for longer and really get to savor and enjoy these delicious bites. I am gonna add in some baking soda to give us a nice lift on these pancakes and make sure they are plenty fluffy. This is a breakfast that my kids absolutely love, which was the original inspiration for this recipe, because everyone knows starting your day with oatmeal is a great way to just kick it into high gear. It's what everybody swears by, but to get my kids to eat oatmeal, I had to pour heavy cream, brown sugar, tons of melted butter all over it, which really just got rid of any of the health benefits. This is a recipe they actually genuinely love the oatmeal in, which is awesome. And if your kids are not into really having to chew very much, you can just pulverize all the oats. You don't need to have the rolled element in there. But I really like the rolled oats in there because they give you something to chew on, and I am a big fan of texture. A little pinch of salt. Always need a little salt with your sweet. That is your dry mix all ready to go. Set that to the side. We are going to combine it with the wet next. In our bowl here, I want 2 cups of yogurt, 4 eggs, and some melted coconut oil. I'm going to melt this in the microwave just 30 seconds. It's 2 tablespoons of solid coconut oil. All right, and now we have liquid coconut oil. Add that to your bowl so it can cool down with your yogurt so you don't risk cooking your eggs accidentally. 2 cups of, I'm using a sheep milk yogurt here. The reason I limit to sheep and goat milk dairy is because they have a tendency to be a little less processed. They're not quite as, they're just not as big an industry as cow milk dairy. And they provide all that delicious, yummy richness. But I'm not eating a ton of dairy as part of this plan. The fermentation in the yogurt, the probiotics that they bring, I find is very valuable to continue to include. But other than yogurt and like a very little bit of cheese here and there, I'm really not including a ton of it in my plan. 4 eggs go in with our yogurt. The eggs, of course, bring in lots of protein, a little bit of nice healthy fat to keep you full and really just make these extra delightful. Eggs also provide the right texture. I want these to, even though they're really going to be very dense and filling with all of the oatmeal, I want the pancakes to still have a nice little bit of lift and some body. The baking soda helps with that. The eggs structure that as well. Whisk these into my, oh, that's a gorgeous, look at these orange yolks. That is a beauty, my friends. Look at that. Whisk in. Then I'm going to add like 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and that just gives us a nice little carry of flavor. Now, if you don't want to use yogurt, you can definitely go for a nut milk of your choosing. You just need something to help hydrate the flour mix. And I do think that the yogurt adds like a nice little tanginess to the blend, which is lovely. Into our dry mix. Just bring this all together. We are looking for, roughly the usual pancake consistency. One thing I do, especially when I'm making these for my kids, is I'll add a tablespoon of date syrup just to sweeten the blend ever so slightly. And you may find you want that if your banana was not particularly ripe or sweet enough. And there you go, a beautiful, just liquid enough pancake batter. Take it to the griddle. Minimal cleanup, another huge magic element of this delicious recipe. So I have invested in a griddle plate because I make these all the time. If you don't have it, a cast iron skillet's perfect. Honestly, a nonstick skillet works great here. You don't need to stress. What you do need is some more coconut oil. Just a little coconut oil to gloss the surface of your pancakes and your griddle. Get your griddle over a nice high heat. One thing I'm going to warn everybody about right now, your first batch of pancakes always sucks. I'm so sorry. It is a universal law. First batch sucks. Why? I think mainly because the griddle just needs a second to really heat up properly. And the more seasoned your griddle is, the better it will behave, because you just need the right amount of like a little greasing, enough heat, not messing with your pancakes too much. We're going to drop them on and then let them sit like a solid 3 minutes until you start to see little bubbles popping up. And once the bubbles start to pop is generally speaking when they're ready to flip. But again, I'm just setting the stage. So we all, expectations match reality equals happiness. Let's give it a quick spread just to make sure your surface is nice and well oiled. I probably have about a tablespoon of oil on there, but you can use a spray or a little bit less. And it's really just a question of making sure that however large your griddle is, that you have enough surface area coverage. Let's let it get nice and hot. That is error number 1. Not waiting till your griddle gets hot. Here's how you're gonna know that your griddle is ready to go. Magic. Get yourself a 1/4 cup measure and just begin scooping evenly sized pancakes onto your griddle, giving them a little bit of space. They're not gonna grow too much, but you don't want them touching. And a little trick is if you pour from a center spot up above, it does help to create those lovely circular forms. But I think we know by now that I mostly care about maximizing delicious flavor. So if they are not perfect shapes, you won't hear me complaining. I'm gonna make sure that my heat is at a medium high at this point now that my griddle is nice and smoking hot. And while these cook, let me tell you a little bit more about Eat Your Heart Out. So this is a book that I have been working on creating recipes for, developing the pattern of how to eat through this plan for almost 5 years. It really was like a slow labor of love because it was a plan that I was creating for myself. My cookbooks and my books in general are almost always like me working through something in my own life that I'm not able to find resources to help me with. And so I end up creating that resource for what I need. And then inevitably I find that lots of other people are dealing with what I'm dealing with. So I sort of started crafting this plan after I gave birth to my daughter, Nika. It was like a few months postpartum. And after you give birth, everything just feels a little loosey-goosey. I didn't feel very strong in my skin. I didn't feel very motivated to do anything other than just like, eat all the time to sustain the energy I needed to feed her and to stay awake what felt like 24 hours a day. And it just started to feel like I was not taking good enough care of myself, and therefore I wasn't able to be all the things that I wanted to be in my motherhood and my work and my wifedom and my friendships and my anything. And I think that's something that we don't always think about is like nourishment fuels everything. Taking good care of yourself. I always think it starts with your meal. Let's see, hang on one second. I want to see how we're doing here. But nope, I wasn't ready. I rushed it. That's why we don't rush. That's why you tell the story and don't rush. People just fundamentally don't realize like what you eat, what you put in your body is one of the most basic and fundamental ways you can take really good care of yourself and invest in yourself. And so I started coming up with recipes that I felt were really nourishing and left me feeling full and left me feeling like it was worth the effort it took to create them. But were taking out some of the things that made me feel tired after eating, made me feel less energized after eating. And those were the foods with lots of gluten and the foods with lots of sugar. So that was the original genesis of this plan. And you guys know I'm not a restrictive eater by any stretch of the imagination. So I really had to come up with a way to build these foods into my life meaningfully and consistently. Consistency is key. And that was where the 5 and 2 came up, that 5 days on, 2 days off, because I know myself, I know that it is always going to be a question of like, can I get my mind on board with healthy eating? And I needed to be able to make sure that I never felt deprived. So the 5 days on, anybody can commit to 5 days of anything, especially with this book, to create meals that you love. Like you end up not even really thinking about the fact that you're doing it for your health. It is to enjoy something delicious. I think these are ready to flip. And oh, they were ready a second ago. See, I got lost in the storytelling, and what did I tell you? First batch sucks. That is just the rule of thumb. Oh, another interesting feature is that I have 2 different size burners going on, or maybe one at a different height. So these ones burned, these ones are perfect, and that one's ugly. It's like Goldilocks in pancake form. Nice. Okay. Well, let's taste it. Her anyway. Still delicious. The perfect balance of like naturally a little bit sweet, got a little touch of that salt in there. Such a good mouthfeel. Such a nice lift. Look at this one especially. Look at that beautiful lift there. Nice and fluffy. No one's thinking, oh, it's a high fiber pancake. It's a high protein pancake. It's my bodybuilder pancake. No, that looks like a sick and twisted diner style fluffy buttermilk pancake that just happens to be great for you, which is the whole dream. Let's pull those off and then we'll make another batch that I promise will be the beauty batch. Ready for batch 2, where the magic begins. Let's start down here first this time. Honestly, guys, sometimes this happens with cast iron is you'll have areas that just will carry heat a little faster. And you'll end up with those sections that you'll just want to watch a little more closely. But I ate that one that was so gnarly that I messed up on the original flip. So delicious. It was so good. Another thing I do love about these pancakes is you really don't need to top them with anything. They're so flavorful. My kids like a little maple syrup on theirs, but I will eat them just plain or with just a serving of some fresh fruit for a little juiciness. Or you can drizzle a little more of that date syrup over top. Let's talk about date syrup while these are going. Behave. Date syrup. And the whole idea of no refined sugar. So refined sugar is obviously quite processed and also an inflammatory food, also something that we know creates an acidic environment in the body. We're not going to get bogged down in all of this because something I was really committed to with this cookbook is like, I don't want my healthy eating to feel like another job. I don't want to have to think about it all the time. I just want it to be able to feel intuitive, like I can live in this skin and just have it flow naturally, to know how to eat well, to know how to eat what's going to make me feel really good. And sometimes I think when you get really bogged down with all the specifics and grams and amounts and like all of that can complicate it in a way that ends up making it overwhelming and feel like a job, and then you don't want to stick with it. Date syrup is literally just pureed dates blended together with some water and strained or reduced. And it ends up being a sweetener that provides a really wonderful, rich, like slightly malty, delicious, almost like a molasses, but not with any of the bitterness of molasses. And I have to say, I love it in my cooking. I'll sometimes use it just to touch, sweeten up a vinaigrette in moments like this where you want that maple syrup kind of experience. And nor in my usual cooking, I use maple syrup, honey, all of it all the time. But for the purposes of this book, date syrup, and ever so infrequently, ever so often, I will use coconut sugar when I need a dry sweetener. Again, another nice unrefined sweetener, but you want to use sweetener sparingly, obviously. It's a nice to have in the moments when it really counts. These are looking beautiful. Let's cut some strawberries. Let's see how we're doing over here. Okay, much better, much happier, much more lovely and uniform. Ah, delightful. Okay, so the second side does cook a little bit faster. You can see, woo, it's hot, obviously. I am going to show you the lavishness of your magic pancakes. Kill your heat. Check out your stack. They smell like perfect banana bread. I have my cut strawberries here that I can just lovely scatter over top. And because you're here and we are celebrating, how about a little date syrup? Looks like chocolate syrup, which doesn't hurt. All right, let's give them a taste. Moment of truth. I mean, doing this to a stack of pancakes always just makes for a good time. Let's try the pancakes on their own first. We're at the part of the show where I need someone else to taste so they can tell you how epically delicious these pancakes are. Okay, I'm trying one without the date syrup just to reaffirm for you that you really don't need it. It's just fun to play with. Look at how soft and fluffy and delicious this pancake is. Layer after layer. The perfect hit of sweetness from the banana. That rich chew from the couple of rolled oats we have in there. I love the oat flour. It just keeps it feeling very filling and soft and delicious. That yogurt just hydrates and bonds everything together. One thing I know you're going to want to know is that you can make a bunch of these all at once on a Sunday when you have time. Let them cool, stack them with parchment paper, and put them in a zip top bag and freeze these. And then reheat them in the toaster when you're ready for a quick breakfast. I just got you your morning back. You're welcome. Enjoy.